people, I mean, we're talking about their future, you know, that they have a say and they can't vote. So what other ways are there for young people to make themselves heard?
Dave Burgess, you chose another way to protest. You and your friend Will Saunders, who's sitting with you, painted the notorious "No War" slogan on the Sydney Opera House in 2003. What do you think that achieved?
I'd say we both might have different answers, but I'll go first. I felt it had achieved a lot when it was seen across the Middle East on TV screens, and how it was perceived here was secondary to that to me. But I also felt that it mirrored the actions of a government who had stepped over the line in international law in a number of ways, invading a country on a number of false pretexts, and a big bad war deserved a big bad can of paint on a place where the whole world recognises Australia speaking through an image.
I want to talk about the tactic though, because tonight we're talking about protest and what works and what doesn't. Will, you and Dave were fined $150,000, sentenced to 9 months periodic detention. Do you think you won people's hearts and minds with that protest?
Well, we got an amazing amount of support from people of all political stripes, very law-abiding citizens. Everybody could see the background was actually that democracy was breaking down in that situation. We'd had 500,000 people march.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the issue. I want to talk about the tactics.
No,
do you think it worked? Because a lot of people were very angry about it.
It's true, but enormous amount of support we had. The important thing is that if a government makes legitimate protest irrelevant, 500,000 people marched and were called a mob, of course you're letting the genie out of the bottle. You have this disconnect in democracy. The same thing is going on now. Sydney is fenced out of their own city for an issue that most people do not want: more globalisation, more nuclear power, the things that are happening at APEC. It's just the same.
Okay, so Kato, what do you make of all this? You're a spin doctor. Does it work or doesn't it? Do these sort of things work in terms of what these people's causes are, or don't they?
Well, they're quite different protests. I mean, from the no wall painting on the Opera House to, your street protests, whether they be violent or peaceful. Bottom line is, if you're trying to get a message through to somebody, and somebody who matters, and somebody who's in a position to make a decision, you've really got to work out the best way to get that decision through, or that message through. So if you've got a peaceful protest, I'd suggest that it's probably a fairly blunt instrument. If you've got a violent protest, I'd say you're actually sabotaging your own cause, because the protest and the method of the protest actually gets in the way of the message.
Well, coming up, we're going to talk to the businessman whose protest against that pulp mill in Tasmania managed to attract national attention.